Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Kat and today we're going to be doing something a little different. So I normally almost never read horror, but you know what? It's October, it's spooky season, so we're gonna make myself read a few and hopefully get a little scared. So I have 5 books here. I'm excited for all of them. Some of them are authors I've read before, some are brand new to me, but I am really excited to get into this and hopefully feel lots of spooky fall time feelings. So let's quickly go over the 5 books that I'll be reading in this video. So we have Silver Nitrate by Silvia Moreno Garcia, and this one, it sounds kind of like a film noir almost vibe, like it's in the 90s. It's about the film industry in 90s Mexico City and a cult horror director. So I'm really curious to see what this one is like. I feel like the vibes are going to be immaculate. Then next we have How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. This I believe is his newest release, and I like Grady Hendrix books quite a bit because I feel like they are very campy horror, and this one, from what I'm hearing, is no different. So I find a lot of his writing is very disgusting, and just in the sense that it has a lot of really disgusting imagery that really evokes a feeling, and a lot of it is just very campy and ridiculous, but I'm really into that. I find that really fun, so I'm excited for this one too. Then the book that I'm definitely the most excited for is Rouge by Mona Awad. I've never read any of her books, but she seems like such a cult classic author at this point. Like, Bunny has such an intense cult following that I'm really excited to start getting into her stuff. And this one specifically is a commentary on the makeup industry, which you might not know, but I do have a very intense interest in makeup and do review it on my Instagram page _the.lipsticklife. So this is something that I care a lot about and I'm very interested in. So I cannot wait to get into this one. And the last 2 are by an author I've read before, Catriona Ward, and she wrote The Last House on Needless Street, which this really weird, almost psychological horror that just was intensely strange. That's the best way to describe it, and really one where I had absolutely no idea what was happening. So from her I have Sundial and Looking Glass Sound. So Sundial sounds like a really intense mother-daughter dynamic where the mother is a little concerned about her daughter because she seems to be interested, collects tiny bones and whispers to imaginary friends, and she sees a darkness within her. And then in Looking Glass Sound, so there's an author writing a story about, so I believe it's an author who's writing an almost memoir about this time in this summer village that he has, and he's starting to write things that he almost doesn't trust his memory anymore. He's starting to really question what actually happened and if he can believe his own senses. So really excited to get to all of these. I don't know what one I'm going to pick up yet, but I am incredibly excited, and hopefully you guys will enjoy this video as well. So I will come back once I have an update on something. This is super random, but I live in a small town and we have a horror themed cafe. And anyways, it's very random that we have this in my tiny town, but it's pretty awesome. And that's what you could see in the B clip, in the B-roll, is that I went there yesterday and just really enjoyed the vibe. And I'm gonna try to challenge myself to go quite a few times while I'm filming this video and just constantly enjoy the vibes because it works so well while I'm reading horror books. It's called Deadly Grounds Cafe. They have a whole coffee line that's available across Canada, but yeah, the cafe's there. And then I got what was a Myers macchiato. So it was pumpkin, caramel, and something else. I forget what the other thing was, but it was pretty good. It was just very sweet. I think part of the issue is that they do a whipped cream on top, and I should really just always make sure not to get that. And then they have muffins they're just regular muffins, but they're baked in the shape of a skull. And it's always so exciting just to try something anything like that. So I'm gonna try to go like a few more times while I'm filming this and just update you guys on what I decide to try off the menu every time. And yeah, I'm gonna keep filming B-roll because there's so many things to see there. They have so many fun decorations, and this is the time to really enjoy it. But I do have like a very big reading update, which is that I finished reading Sundial by Catriona Ward. So this was a very, very fast read, and it was under 300 pages, which I'm kind of starting to realize is like my ideal book length. It's like the perfect, like, you get into a story, you know what's going on, it's enough to get attached to the characters and really like delve into a fun story, but not enough that anything drags. And this was like the perfect example of that. So just, this is my second book by Catriona Ward, and I do have another one I'll be reading in this video, and like I have a very strong feeling she's going to come to be one of my favorite like automatic pickup horror authors, because this was great. The first book I read from her, The House at the End of Needless Street something, The Last House on Needless Street. It was just weird as hell and like confusing. There was so much, like so many twists and turns, so many things that you didn't understand what was happening. And I feel like this is another example of that. And that's just kind of how I like my horror. I feel I don't want anything that's like very outright anxiety inducing. I want something where you are sitting there and you're like, what the hell is happening? And how is this going to end? Like what is going on? And yeah, obviously this perfectly embodied that for me. So the gist of the story is that we're following a mother. She is in a very abusive relationship, and she has two daughters. One of them who she's starting to get worried about. She thinks she's kind of exuding like concerning behaviors, and she's really worried that she might have some like dark part inside of her. So she and her daughter go on a solo vacation together to her family home, which is called Sundial. And while there, she tells her daughter like her life story, kind of delving into this past that she has with a twin sister and her parents, and like this really weird, almost twisted past that she had, and telling her daughter more where she came from. And this just gets incredibly well into this like mother-daughter relationship, sister relationship, just all of these like family dynamics. And so much of what was going on, I could not see where it was going. So much like just absolutely like shocked me. And the ending of this book had such a crazy cliffhanger that just like blew my mind. But I loved it. I really, really loved it. I thought this was fantastic, and one that just like really kept me gripped and wanting to figure out what was happening. I was so engrossed in it. So yeah, like this is a win. This is absolutely a win. It's a 4-star read, and it was just so incredibly fun. So I'm feeling very good. It was not on the scary scale, was not scary. It was more thrillery in a lot of ways. You were just very worried about what was going to happen, and you were guessing what was going to happen next, but it didn't have any part that made me feel scared. There was no like really grotesque, like gory parts or anything. It was just much more thrillery with a little like unsettling hint of like, is there something else going on? So yeah, very much a win, very much like this, and I'm feeling like this is off to such a great start. I decided I'm gonna pick up Silver Nitrate next, which is like a following a cult movie director from the 90s, and I think it's more like gothic noir, like very, hopefully a little creepy, but I'm excited for this. I do really like Sylvia Moreno Garcia's writing. I think, did she write Mexican Gothic? Yeah, I really thought Mexican Gothic was good, and then The Daughter of Dr. Moreau I really like well, so I have a good feeling. I've gotten a bit over halfway into Silver Nitrate, and I'm really liking this. I had a feeling that I might like it, but it's so much better than I thought it would be. And also so far it hasn't really been creepy or scary or anything, which is a little surprising, but I have no complaints. So we're following, there's two people. There is a sound editor and a like failed actor. They are best friends, have been their entire life, and the actor moves into this new building, and his neighbor is this like old director who used to do a lot of like cult horror movies in Mexico. And he starts telling this story of this man who he is acquainted with, who was like an occultist. So they created this movie entirely based on like basically the whole movie was to be this elaborate spell that they were casting for some reason, and it was like this elaborate ritual that they wanted to get on film, because that's like that was the medium that the more people who watched it, the bigger the effect of the spell would be. So back in the day, which would have been like 20, 30 years before, they had started this ritual on a film set but never actually completed it. So these two people get recruited in to come and kind of finish off the film and see if they can get this spell to work or something. And after they do it, they start noticing that things kind of are going wrong. So one of them starts seeing, like, she just gets a sense a lot that there's somebody in a room with her. And the actor, he starts to see his girlfriend who had died like 10 years before. He starts seeing her around, like she's very clearly like in a bathroom with him or something. So they're starting to realize that maybe this wasn't just some old man like believing in magic. Maybe there actually is magic happening. And it's good. It's like a little creepy but not really scary so far. It's just very atmospheric and I'm really, really liking it. Hi, buddy. So this lighting's terrible. So I did finish Silver Nitrate. I actually ended up really enjoying this. So I think when I last spoke about it, I was kind of describing that it was just having this like really occult, like very kind of weird vibe around this film. And we're just kind of following as the people involved with doing this spell are starting to feel like they're being haunted. And it kind of just stayed, like that's basically just where the book stayed for the rest of it, is that these people feel like they're being haunted and we kind of see the repercussions of this spell that they casted and this potential evil spirit that's after them and them trying to break the curse, them dealing with the fallout of all of it and all of that. So I ended up really liking it. I thought that overall, like, it was very interesting. The story was intriguing. The only thing is that I felt it didn't really get quite as creepy as I was hoping for, like a little bit of a horror book. Like it was just very lightly creepy, and I was hoping for something that was like a little more intense. And also, like, by the ending, I like the worst thing that you can say is I kind of started to lose interest by the end because I don't know, the stakes didn't feel quite as high by the end of it. Please stop. And yeah, I just started to lose interest by the end, and like I really was wanting it to be like a lot creepier because it is about a curse. And you know, I felt like, especially when these people are dealing with spirits and they're being haunted and all of this stuff, like I felt that it really could have went a lot scarier, but yeah, it didn't really do that. I'm seeing on the back right now that it's described more as supernatural suspense, and I do feel like that's kind of more where this book went instead of horror, because it didn't really get scary per se. But overall, it was pretty good. I would recommend it. I thought it was really good. And Sylvia Morena Garcia's writing, as always, was really good. And then after finishing that, I decided to pick up How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. And I'm halfway into this right now and I'm enjoying it. I'm primarily listening to it on audio. I am enjoying it. It's just, I don't know, something about it is not hitting me as hard as any of his other books. Like, again, it's not feeling scary. Normally his books are like a very campy horror, and I don't know, it's not getting there yet. Maybe it will later on, but so far it's just like, I feel like the book is mostly just laying the scene for what's to come. So in this one, we're following two siblings. Their parents die very suddenly and they're left to deal with the fallout of the house, the fallout of dealing with their estate and selling their house. And mostly so far it's been very much like the characters just fighting over inheritance and who's going to do what, who's going to get what. One of them wants to get rid of everything in the house. One of them feels like they should actually sort through everything and care about their parents' remains. And it's like, it doesn't quite have a lot going on that's scary so far. Like once again, it's very much just the atmosphere is kind of creepy. So they're in this house and their mother had been a puppeteer. So there's puppets everywhere, like all of these creepy little puppets and dolls that she made and all these crafts and stuff. They're starting to realize that maybe, like, they think they're crazy, but the puppets seem to be moving. And right now they just think that each sibling is like playing tricks on each other and that they're moving them to creep each other out and to try and like get them to back out of what's going on. But the puppets are kind of moving, and there's things like the TV will mysteriously turn on, they hear noises in the house, and it sounds like somebody's following them around. But they really just think it's like each other playing practical tricks on them. But we're led to believe, obviously, that the puppets are what's actually haunted and what's haunting these siblings. So I think it has a very good potential to get creepy because, like, obviously puppets, haunted puppets, creepy dolls, that's always a really terrifying like prospect. And I do think that there is a possibility that this could get good, but so far it's just kind of boring. And there's just like the hints of the scariness, but none of it really feels like it's quite there yet. Like it all just feels like it's laying the scene for what's to come. So I'm not really sure yet how I feel, and I'm really hoping that it picks up in the last little bit. So I don't know. I feel like this is falling very much into the camp of it was okay, but nothing spectacular, and I'm just kind of left feeling a little disappointed. So there just were so many things that did not end up being that interesting or exciting to me for this one for some reason. Like I felt like it just really fell flat in so many ways. So this premise of a haunted house or haunted objects in a house in this case, that was really interesting, and there was a lot of things that felt like they were leading up to something that could be potentially really creepy or scary, and for some reason for me it just really fell flat. Like it didn't quite get to this level that I was really hoping it to be, and so much of it just did not end up going into this actual scary camp. It ended up just staying kind of like a little creepy, a little unsettling, but not actually scary. And then again, so much of it just felt ridiculous. Yes, this is Grady Hendrix. This is the type of books that he does. He does ridiculous horror. He does really insane, ridiculous concepts, but it just felt way too over the top for me in this one. Like looking at some of his past books that I've enjoyed, like what is it, the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying a Vampire or the Final Girls Support Club, they were ridiculous in a sense that was just very fun, and this one I don't feel like really ended up going there in a sense. Like I don't know, just something about it didn't work for me, and I really wasn't expecting that, because part of this, like this haunted house, what's haunted inside of it is puppets, and for me, like this premise of haunted puppets or dolls is one of the fucking creepiest things in the world. Like that absolutely terrifies me, because I remember like there's one episode of Supernatural where it was haunted dolls, and that horrified me like to such an insane level, and I don't know why this one just didn't do it. So also in it, like all of the characters were terrible. They're all like so insufferable and annoying to listen to, and a lot of the time like that doesn't actually bother me, and I don't think it really bothered me here either, but usually I feel like I need at least one character to actually care about. Like it can't be every single person annoys me, and I felt like that was kind of the case in this one. So I wasn't really rooting for anyone, I wasn't really caring about anyone, and yeah, I don't know, this just fell flat for me. I'm gonna give it a 3-star because it was entertaining. It was entertaining for sure. It just wasn't really riveting or scary or like creepy like I was hoping it to be. And with that, I'm going to start on the next book, which is Looking Glass Sound by Catriona Ward. So only 2 left to read now. Best way to describe what I'm feeling right now is just intensely confused. But before that, I have little ghosty earrings on and a ghost sweater, so I'm feeling in the Halloween spirit. But yeah, I don't know what to say about this book. I don't know what happened in it. I am intensely confused. So the basic premise is that there's this man who decided to write a memoir about this famous murderer that he encountered when he was a teenager in this small beach village that he used to go to every summer. So there was this murderer who every year would kill women who went missing, women who were out swimming and mysteriously disappeared, were actually getting captured and murdered, but everybody presumed they were just swimming accidents. And at the same time, there was somebody else who was sneaking into homes and taking pictures of children with knives against their throat while they sleep. So these murders and that person, they ended up getting caught, and it was somebody who was very closely entwined with our main character, and he starts writing kind of a memoir about it when he's in his 50s. And I don't even know what to say about it from there because it gets really fucking weird, and it is like books within books. So he's writing a memoir about, and there's somebody who's writing a book about his memoir, and then I don't think I can explain this. Like, I am so confused because there are so many people who are like fake characters, who had a book written about them, or had things written about them, but they weren't actually real people. Or I think my brain's a little broken right now. I don't know if I can describe anything else from this. I genuinely don't know how to describe this book. It was really, really weird. Okay. I'm super confused and still processing a lot of what actually happened, because it did feel, I'm gonna give its Inception metaphor, where there was like books within books and somebody was writing a book about a book based on about somebody writing a book. Confusing. So confusing. And yeah, this is probably the worst review I've ever talked about a book before, and like this is probably the worst description I've ever given for anything I've read, but I genuinely don't know what else to say about it aside from it was really fucking weird. I'm very confused about what happened, and it's gonna be a 3-star because I'm still really confused. And the story itself was just, parts of it I really enjoyed the first half. I really liked the first half. Then it just got weird and I stopped really feeling like I was invested in the story. I felt like I was more of just trying to catch up with what was happening. So yeah, 3-star. I really don't know what else to say, but yeah, this one's done. And now I just have to read one book left, which is Rouge by Mona Awad. And then, yeah, maybe that one will scare me, because so far none of these books have actually been scary, and I'm feeling very disappointed in that. Alrighty, so I'm this far into Rouge and I find I'm really struggling with it, and not that it's bad by any means. It's more of just like something about it is very much a slow read. I'm finding that I can't really stay with the character's mind for that long, because it just it's hard to read. It's hard to keep going with, and it's a little draining to keep seeing this like side of her. So we're following this woman, Belle, who after her mother passes away, she goes back to her mother's home to kind of deal with like her estate and everything. And she had been raised very much caring about skincare, makeup, appearances, and like she has this intense obsession about how her skin looks at all times, and like the ritual of doing her skincare every night. Like the descriptions of this intense need that she has to do her skincare is really intense. And when she gets to her mother's funeral and is dealing with her, unpacking her life and figuring out all of her estate, she learns that her mother has been involved with this weird group called Rouge. And they're kind of a spa. They're a spa, but something feels weird about it. That's like a very intense kind of group. And they've kind of reached out to her and started to bring Belle into their fold. So Belle's now, at this point, she's just been offered a complimentary service with them, and it's very weird. It's very weird. She goes in thinking it's kind of like a facial kind of thing, but it's really about moving past your life and like forgetting all of your problems. And it's really weird. And you can kind of see Belle, it feels like her mind is slightly unraveling, in that a lot of what's happening she doesn't really have a full grasp on, you could say, because she just doesn't really feel fully present. And I think that's what's kind of been a struggle for me, is that being in her mind is kind of rough, and it's kind of hard to keep following this like trajectory of her seemingly unraveling, because it very much gives off the vibes that she's going to get very involved with this group and start discovering her mother's secrets, and really, like, I'm guessing getting exposed to things and getting really entrenched in this group and maybe losing herself a little bit. So I think it's good. I think it's really interesting, and the writing is fantastic. Like, this makes me really want to read more from Mona Awad, but it's just hard to read because it's very slow, and something I very much, after every chapter, I want to put it down and just think about what I read, which, you know, that could be a good sign of a book. Like, that could be something, if you feel like you need to sit with what you've read, that can be a good sign. It's just like, it's making it a very slow read. So I feel like the biggest thing I can say about this book is that it just like felt like a fever dream, and I am so confused about like everything that happened in it. And yeah, I don't think it fully worked for me. So it was super weird, and some of that was actually like, it was very interesting, but it just being inside somebody's mind while they are doing this like complete unraveling, and we're the ones like we're sitting there seeing it, and just something about that didn't quite work for me. And yeah, like I don't know, something just didn't fully work. I think if there was like a slower unraveling of the main character's mind, that would have made it a lot more interesting. But it felt like it was like a complete switch from like one day she's fairly sane and the next she's like on this complete descent into madness. And it just felt like a little jarring, and it was very hard to be inside of her mind as she's going through this. So like for that, I found it was hard to get into, and I couldn't fully get invested in the book as well because it was kind of hard to read this adventure of her. And it was interesting. It did have like a bit of a cult like kind of story, which I do enjoy quite a bit, and it kind of had like a mystical kind of underlying sense in it. Like there were some really cool things. It just didn't fully work for me. So with that being read, I have now finished reading all of my horror books that I wanted to get to. Did any of them scare me? No, unfortunately. None of them ended up actually being scary or like mildly unsettling, but nothing actually scary, unfortunately, which is a big disappointment. And I feel like it's been a while since I've had a book that's really freaked me out, and I'm missing that. I'm missing that a lot. So if you guys have any like good horror recommendations, please leave them below, because yeah, I feel like I'm really missing out on that right now. And with that, this video will be done. I will be checking out now, and please subscribe if you haven't already, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.